challenge, I'll show a simple approach to moving a sprite around a stage in a platform game format. There are many different approaches and each has its advantages and disadvantages, very typical of choosing between program designs. This program needs to be simple, easy to change, yet effective in giving believable movement. A tough set of requirements. I want the sprite to be smaller. I'll go to Looks, Set Size, change it to 50, try it. Okay, want it a little smaller, try 40%, run it. Good. I'll make green platforms, go to Sensing. The sprite I use touching color to determine when it's touching a platform. I'll draw the platforms on the backdrop, paint a new backdrop, use vector mode. I want to fill the backdrop with a blue-green, select rectangle, draw a rectangle for the whole area. I'll fill it. I want more color at the top than the bottom. I'll fill it. Now I'll draw the platforms. I'll make them light green. I want them to be solid rectangles. Rectangle. I'll make the floor and fill it. I'll move the cat down onto the floor now and go back to stage. I want to draw a raised platform above the cat. Go to rectangle, draw a rectangle. Want to fill it. I have a raised platform for the cat now. I'll move the cat over to the right of the stage. I'll go back to the cat scripts. I can see whether the cat's touching the green platform. I need to select the color to compare to. I'll click on it. Watch this color change as I move around the screen. I'll select this green. Now this condition will be true when a sprite's touching this color. The cat's not touching it, so it should be false. I'll try it. False. I'll move the cat down some, go to Motion, change Y. I'll change Y downward, so I'll have to add -1 to it. Bigger Y values are higher, and smaller Y values are lower. The sprite's Y value is a -142. I'll move it. Now it's a -143, and it's still not touching the green platform. I'll move it some more. Move. Check. Still false. Again. False. One more time. Now it's touching the platform. I want the cat to always start here. Go to. Change the 142 to 146. Good. So how do I move the sprite now? First, I'll want the main program when the green flag's clicked on. Events, when the green flag's clicked. I'll need a loop, control, forever. The sprite needs to figure out where its next move is to when it's in the loop. I'll make this new part its own block. I'll go to More Blocks, make a block. I'll call it Update, New X and Y. Okay. I'll move the definition here. And I'll call this new procedure in the loop to update the X and Y. I want new X and Y positions. I'll go to Data, make a variable. I'll call it My New X for this sprite only. Okay. Move it over. Make another variable. My New Y for this sprite only. Okay. Move the monitor over. Need to initialize my new X and my new Y. My new X. Go to Motion. Set these to the X and Y position of the sprite. And Y. The sprite will adjust the my new X and Y values for the new location to move to. I'll use the arrow keys for moving, sensing, key pressed. When the right arrow is pressed, I'll go to Control, get If. If the right arrow is pressed, I want my new X to be a little larger. X values get larger to the right. Go to Data, change my new X by 2 instead of 1. Move a little more. When left arrow key is pressed, I want to make my new X smaller. Duplicate. Change right to left arrow. Change my new X by -2. Now when the left arrow is pressed, my new x will get smaller. I want to do these same things in the y direction if the up and down arrows are pressed. Copy both ifs. If the up arrow is pressed, I want my new y to increase by 2, and if the down arrow is pressed, I want my new y to decrease by 2. Okay, now the arrow keys can move the sprite when the go-to my new x, my new y is used. But what about gravity? What will pull the cat back down? I need to adjust my new y by a downward value, like gravity. This gets a little tricky since gravity increases an object's downward movement. Slow at first, then faster and faster. That's why we're careful not to fall from high heights. I want to change my new y by a downward value. I'll make a variable, call it my downward for the sprite only. Okay, move it under. I want to set my new y to my downward. I need to initialize my downward. I'll set it to 0 at the beginning. I need to update my downward in the loop. I'll make another procedure block, make a block. I'll call it update downward. Okay, I'll move the definition down some and add a call. The call needs to be before the update my new x, y values so that my downward's been set. I want to think of my downward as kind of like the speed going down. Bigger numbers means it's falling faster. Smaller numbers means it's falling slower. And negative numbers means it's going upward. I'll right-click on Update Downward, add a comment, highlight the text. I'll put the comment bigger number is faster down. Minimize. A bigger my new downward value means I need a smaller my new y, since y gets smaller downward, so I want the negative value. Couple ways to do that. Operators. I could subtract the value from 0, or I can multiply the value by -1. Put it in. Now as my downward gets bigger, 5, 10, then this is -5, -10, which is further down the stage. It's a little tricky, but don't panic. I also want to remember that when the sprite's touching a platform, my downward needs to be set to 0 so it stops falling. Now to set my downward and update downward. If the up arrow key is pressed, the sprite should slow its falling. Go to Control, if else, duplicate up arrow, go to Data. If the up arrow is pressed, I want my downward to be changed by -1, else I'll use change my downward by 1. I don't think this change value will be close enough to gravity, but we'll see. Okay, the main loop's updating my downward and my new x and y values. It needs to move the sprite next. Go to More Blocks, make a block, call it Move Sprite. Okay, I'll move the definition over here, and I'll need to call Move Sprite after the values have been updated. I'll move the sprite, Motion, Go To, want to go to my new x and y values, my new x, my new y. I need to set my downward to 0 if the sprite's touching a platform to stop its falling. Go to Control, If it's touching the green platform, want to set my data to 0. When the green flag's clicked, the cat's set up on the right side of the stage, and the program loops, updating my downward for some gravity values, figuring out where to move the cat based on key presses, moving the cat, and correcting gravity if it's on a platform. Now I think I have enough to run and see what needs work. I'll run it, and the cat's falling through the platform. I'll pick it up and drop it, and it sinks through the platform, hiding. I'll try the left and right arrows. Okay, it's moving. It doesn't point in the left when it goes there. It's a very shy cat. I'll try the up arrow. Some left, up, left. Kind of heavy cat. And he goes through the platform, both platforms. The program works some, but it's a little fast and the cat feels heavy. Too much downward pull, too much gravity. I'll stop it. First I'll have the cat pointing in the right direction. Motion. I want the cat pointing to the right if the right arrow is pressed. 90 is the right. Good. If the left arrow is pressed, I want the cat to point to the left. The cat should start pointing to the left. Left. And since I'm making the cat point to the left and right, I should set the rotation style to left-right. Now I want my downward closer to gravity, and a little lighter too. So it's not so linear, I'll use a smaller my downward value earlier in falling, when my downward is less than 5, say. Go to Control, If Else, go to Operators. If my downward's less than 5, data, my downward, I'll duplicate the change. If my downward is less than 5, then I want the pull to be smaller. I'll use half of this, 0.5. I also want to limit the gravitational pull so it's not so strong. Go to Control, get If my downward is greater than 10, I'll limit it to 10. Data, set my downward to 10. Now it won't get so large. Also, if the sprite's falling and it has a large my downward value, it'll have a large change in the goto's y value and could fall right past a very thin platform. Since it wouldn't land on it, it would land under it. And finally, falling. Well, sinking. Sinking through the platform like it's quicksand. This is a little tricky. Instead of checking for touching the platform, it could very simply loop while it's touching the green platform and move up 1 pixel. It'll finish as soon as it's not touching the green platform anymore. I'll go to Control, repeat until. Operators, not. Repeat until it's not touching the green. I'll still want to set my downward to 0, even if it's a lot of times. Get this out of the way. But it also needs to move the sprite by a pixel. I'll get change. Instead of -1, make it 1. Move up. Now move sprite goes to my new x, my new y, and while it's touching a platform, it'll move it until it's not touching anymore. Good, but do you see a problem with this approach? I'll try it and see if you see the problem before I show it. What's this repeat loop assuming? Incorrectly. Run. Good. The cat's not sinking, and it's pointing in the correct direction. I'll try the left and right arrows. Good. I'll move it on top of the platform. Whoa. Pretty light now. Staying on the platform nicely, left and right, little hops. That's working nicely. I'll go under the platform. Falls down. Okay. What'll happen if the cat jumps up? It'll be touching the platform, so what will happen to the cat? What will this loop do if the cat's touching the platform? Okay, I'll use the up arrow. It goes right up through the platform. Why did the cat go up through the platform? I'll stop it. Time's up. The problem is the repeat assumes the cat's feet are touching, not its ears or head. There are several approaches to fixing this problem. I'll keep it short for time here. What if I make the bottom of the platform a dark green? Then the upward movement won't have the cat's ears or head touching the light green, so this loop won't drag the cat up. But I'll need to move the cat down to get its ears out of the platform if it's touching the dark green. I'll go to Stage, Backdrops, zoom in 200%. Scroll down a little bit. I'll select a darker green, get a rectangle, draw it, and I'll fill it, solid. I want that rectangle a little thinner. I'll select, shrink, and shrink. Get that a little bit more to the right. Good. Go back to 100%. I'll go back to the cat, scripts. I'll duplicate this repeat until. I need more room. I'll shrink the stage. Move sprite up here. I'll change this loop. have it select the darker green. This shouldn't change my downward. I'll get that out. But it does need to change my y downward, -1. So the cat moves down, smaller y values, and drops down below the platform it's under, where its head is touching the dark green. I'll try it, return the stage to normal size, click Run. Left and right arrows are working. Go under the platform, try it. Good, comes back down. One more time. Good. I'll get up on top of the platform. Try some jumps, some hops here. That's working nicely, I'll stop it. This is a simple start for a platform game for this short amount of time. It'll give you a lot to play with. I'm finished with this challenge. I encourage you to play with the program. Get comfortable with using a loop of key presses to drive a program. And be sure you understand how positive and negative my downward values work correctly. Try changing the program. Try adding more platforms to the backdrop. Or better yet, make your own backdrop. Try changing this update downward procedure block so the sprite flies differently. Try making a simple game with this program now. Add another color or a new sprite along the edge for an exit. But above all, have fun with the program.